Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to the shop. I think it's about time I wrapped up the aluminum work on the front end of this flat deck. To start with, as I did on the rear, I've just made a simple cardboard template so that I can see what it looks like. Nothing super fancy here. I've come forward 6 inches, so this is the front of where the camper box will end. I've then continued about 1.5 inches forward on a diagonal, which lines me up roughly with the front of the headache rack behind the truck cab. Next, I'll take the dimensions that I used to build the cardboard part, transfer them onto the aluminum, cut it out, and prep it to bend. Now that I've got the 2 blanks cut, I can go ahead and get ready to bend them. Each of these parts is going to have 2 bends. It's got one here, which is across the front of the bed where it bends down. And the second bend is up here, which actually wraps around to the inside edge of the subframe. So this is the back side. They're going to bend up. Both bends are in the same direction, but I do have to be careful because the axis of each bend does cross. And that means I need to make sure that one bend, once made, isn't going to interfere with the other bend being made. Because this bend has a big gap to the axis of this bend, I'm going to do this bend first. And that means when I bend this way, this piece not being bent is not going to interfere when it comes up. Might be a little confusing. It'll make a bit more sense when you see me make the first and second bend. This is my 30-ton air-over hydraulic home-built press brake, and this is what I'll be using to bend the aluminum. If you're interested in seeing more of the operation and you haven't already watched the video where I created the back end of the truck, go ahead and check that out. I explain a little bit more how this operates. For this video, you're just going to see me bending. I got my bend line. I'm going to set this in the brake. Generally don't like bringing it down quite that hard. All right, there we're pretty close. Okay, now I just got a little bit of tension on it there. I seem to be on the mark all the way across. Double check my distance. Pretty close there. Now that the first bend is done, you might be able to see a little more what I'm talking about the bend sequencing. You can see that if I had made this bend first, when the second bend was made, it would be very close to actually, if not into, hitting the press brake here. But by making this bend first and this bend second, this part is plenty far away from the press brake to make the second bend. Now that we've got the 2 bends into this piece, let's chuck it up on the front of the truck and see how it fits. We've gone from cardboard to bent aluminum part, and I think we're matched up pretty good. Next up, I'm going to cut a piece to fit this piece right here, the end cap with a little bend in it, and then we can TIG weld all the way around the edge, and that should pretty close to finish up that part. Here we go. Well, I'm pretty happy with how that first weld came out. Let's take a closer look. Not too bad, eh? Not too bad. With the end cap welded on, I can now work on securing this to the truck. The inside edge here is going to have a hole through it into the inside edge of the subframe. The outside edge, I've got a plate welded on here that lines up with the T-slot extrusion. And the end of the T-slot extrusion has two holes where I can insert a rib nut. And that'll give me two threaded holes here and a threaded hole on the inside. In addition to that, I'm going to add one or two tabs on the inside here that are going to secure to the front of the subframe, and that should be plenty stiff enough to hold this in place. Well, I think that wraps it up for this side. Let's take a closer look. I've got 5 bolts holding this on, 2 up under here, 2 here, and then 1 on the inside. And I think came out all right. Pretty sturdy on there. Lined up nice with the top. So now it's all over to the other side. The passenger side is, of course, virtually a mirror image of the driver's side with the exception of the air intake. So what I need to do is take my cardboard template, turn it inside out, cut out a notch, and then transfer that over to the aluminum part. With the cutout transferred over to the aluminum part, I've added in the center support structure, put the holes in where all the holes need to go. I've drilled and tapped the subframe, so the only thing left to do is install the part. Now, one thing you might be wondering is why I waited until after I made the part to cut this out, and the reality is I need this material here in order to make this bend. If I don't have enough material here, it doesn't fit in the bender, it won't bend properly, so that's the main reason behind cutting this out after the fact. So again, you can see the cutout here matches the airbox intake here. And keeping in mind that the subframe can move in relation to the truck. So I've got significant extra space around here. All that's left, sliding it into place and putting in the bolts. So I've got 2 bolts on the outside, 2 into here, and 1 in the center. Here you can see the cutout around the air intake. And we're all installed. And that is it. I am considering that done. I'm not going to plate over the center section in case I need better access to the transmission or the back of the engine. I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please consider giving us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, because there's plenty more to come. And if you got a question, throw it down in the comment section below and I'll do what I can to answer it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.